As if the world couldn't get any weirder, this past weekend, a guy named Alex Honnold climbed up the outside of one of the tallest skyscrapers in the world without a rope. And I'm here to break it down, talk about how flow was the driving force behind this incredible feat, and how you can use flow like Alex in your life, even if you're not trying to climb skyscrapers. Hi, my name is Cory Firth. I build lifestyle systems and workflow tools to help high capacity people metabolize intensity into flow. Today, I'm going to be talking about the subtle but more powerful conscious elements that allowed Alex to do what he did. I'm going to point out a variety of what I'll call flow triggers that helped drive Alex through the climb, and how this type of flow can be experienced by everyday average people just like you and me if you practice and aim to increase the skill of flow. I talk about flow in a previous video, so if you want a pretty simple way of understanding flow at a basic level that can be applied to anyone, not just artists or athletes, I highly suggest you check that out. I'll put it in the description or it'll pop up somewhere on the video for you to check that out. Okay, so let's jump in. All right, let's get the data straight first. A guy, in case you haven't heard, a guy named Alex Honnold, known for his free solo rock climbs, succeeded in climbing up the face of one of the tallest buildings in the world this past weekend without a rope. The building was the Taipei 101, a 101-story skyscraper based in Taipei, Taiwan, and it was live streamed on Netflix. Now, there's a lot to talk about with this story and this experience. It was an absolutely jaw-dropping, fist-clenching thing to watch. It was insanely cool to see what humans are capable of, and I think Alex Honnold's brain should be studied. His ability to step through fear is the thing that I was inspired by the most. But I think one thing that hasn't been talked about much is Alex's insane ability to reach flow and how valuable that is to him as a climber attempting these wild human feats, but also how it is so valuable to us as everyday people who don't climb skyscrapers to learn how to enter flow more consistently. So I want to start here. Yes, Alex climbing this building was nuts. It was dangerous. It was difficult. But calling it insane, calling it crazy, call it death defying, calling it hard, it kind of misses the point, at least from my opinion. Because when we label something as madness or fearless or insane or courageous, we stop looking for the structure underneath it, which is what I'm most interested in. I think that is the thing that makes these things more accessible for people. It's what I can take away from as a human. And so when you look at what Alex accomplished from the lens of flow, it makes things a little bit easier to understand, and it's kind of a little bit more predictable. I'm obviously not saying here that what he did was easy by any means, but if you follow the patterns and the triggers that guide someone into flow, that experience checks all the boxes. Now, again, I will say this because I don't want to be confusing here. I'm absolutely not saying this was easy. But Alex made it look like it was. And I think a lot of what is related to how we can enter flow can come from this place. And we can enter flow more powerfully if we really break down what it is that he accomplished from this place. And I don't think that flow is luck or talent or fearlessness, even though that was what was on display with Alex this weekend. It's the result of preparation, the ability to surrender, and the way you metabolize fear. You've seen that in the experience of watching Alex do that if you watch that. If you didn't, this video won't make any sense to you, so go and watch that. But the first thing that I want to talk about that I found really the most interesting was how much preparation was emphasized. I mean, of course, you're going to need to 100% prepare for something like this, even if you're Alex Honnold, the guy who free soloed El Cap. But preparation isn't just something you need to do hard things. It's also needed to enter flow. Flow has a difficult stage built in. If you watch my last video on flow, you'll remember that with every flow experience, there is a trigger phase. There is a struggle phase. And it's the moment where you haven't really fully let go yet. You're not fully trusting your mind and your body to do the thing you're asking it to do. And you're really not able to enter focus just yet. The struggle phase is the entry point to flow. The more you train yourself to prepare to move through that struggle stage, the faster and more reliably you can enter flow. Now, Alex had to prepare his body to make sure it was strong and healthy, and he also had to prepare his mind. And Alex did that through a lot of visualization, as you heard. He visualized himself moving up the building from stage to stage. You heard his trainers talking about this, his friends talking about this through the broadcast. And this is a great way to prepare for something challenging, but it's also a great way to start the day. Before you get out of bed, rehearse in your mind how the day is going to go from the moment you hit the floor. For real, like take every single step as soon as they touch the floor off the bed. It should take you no more than 5 minutes to do, but to rehearse what you know you're already going to do throughout the day in a successful, joyful, excited way, you can just kind of let go and get out of bed and see what happens. They say that, how you do everything is how you do anything. And starting the day with intention like that, I think, can be a very, very powerful tool. Now, the second thing that I think is very interesting about Alex's experience is his ability to let go and trust himself. And that's kind of the same idea that I just gave to you about the rehearsing in your bed before you get out of it in the morning. This is the other counterpart to preparedness. With flow, you need equal parts discipline and equal parts surrender. It doesn't matter if you're facing the 11th tallest skyscraper in the world or trying to write a book. The more you can prepare and let go, the easier you will move into flow. And I think personally that this is a big lesson, not just for me, but probably for all of you watching who really get a lot out of being prepared and being disciplined. Discipline is very, very important. It is needed, of course, and I'm not saying it's not. I'm a very disciplined person, but surrendering to a knowing or to a trust is so equally important, and we can't forget that as we walk this life or as we aim to do anything important, because it really helps us to bring the intention back into everything that we're doing. And there's a great passage that I love from the Tao Te Ching that I think summarizes this very, very well, which is, "Man at his birth is supple and tender, but in death he is rigid and hard. Thus, suppleness and tenderness are signs of life, while rigidity and hardness are signs of death." And if you're like me and you're a highly disciplined person who likes to be prepared for everything, I suggest you intentionally schedule moments of surrender into your day. Use the discipline you have of being prepared to put things into your calendar where you need to be not in control, where you can let go. Because I think that learning to surrender is maybe one of the most important things that I've ever done for myself. And I think it's probably one of the most important things anyone can do right now in this world. And that kind of moves me into trigger number 3. And something that I think is so important to help people enter flow is also having a clear goal. So kind of going back to the discipline piece, having a clear goal and then also having immediate feedback loops built in as you aim to achieve that goal is such a powerful way to ignite flow. Alex's goal was super easy and clear, right? Climb big, tall building. But the immediate feedback loops weren't so obvious. But if you break it down, you'll see what I mean. If you watched it, the building's face had multiple stages or layers that gave Alex different types of climbing patterns, different hand and footholds, and different textures. This gave Alex transition points for how his mind and body would need to move to continue to ascend up the building. He also had multiple repeating challenging levels as he got higher. These things that they called dragons was like these little jutting extensions out from the building that he had to maneuver through. At each stage here, he has the option to consciously course correct. If the pattern was the same all the way up, he might lose track of the pattern and might become, too easy or could get kind of lazy or just become boring. And this happens to all of us as we aim to enter flow too. If we don't have real-time feedback to keep us anchored in the experience, it's a lot easier for us to drop out of the experience altogether. And to the point about being boring and lazy, or maybe easy, I would say the other trigger that I saw that was obvious to me in the climb was that he has an insane challenge to skill ratio. And that challenge to skill ratio is such an important thing for people who study flow, because they're looking at one's ability to complete whatever it is they are aiming to complete. It's the idea that your task should be a little bit challenging or a little bit outside of your current skill set, but not too much as to induce deep learning. It's having the right amount of challenge that keeps you interested and engaged, but not too much that you have to go and learn to do the thing deeply as you're trying to also do the thing deeply. It also works in reverse too, where you want to make sure that it's not too easy. Otherwise, you'll become disinterested, disheartened by the experience, or bored. The goal here from the research that I've seen with Stephen Kotler is that if you want to aim for roughly like a 4% challenge to skill ratio, in that your experience is 4% more challenging than your current skill set. And if you look at Alex Honnold's challenge to skill ratio, it's insanely high. So it's not a good example, but you can still take this principle and apply it to your life and your work, even if you're not someone who's aiming to climb buildings, or something nearly as universally challenging. If you're aiming to achieve something meaningful, it is likely that there's going to be some sort of challenge that comes with it. This is kind of baked into the quality of human pursuit. What you want to do is notice what is challenging you on this path to achieving it, and making that challenge smaller as you take the action. So breaking the challenge down allows you to make it small so you can tackle it with less friction. And friction is what kills flow, but it's also what drives flow. When your friction is small enough, you feel empowered to accomplish it. It drives you forward. It drips dopamine. It feels like a goal that you can achieve. And I believe all friction and challenge can be simplified by breaking it down to the very next clear, doable step and removing everything else from your attention until that step is complete. This goes for friction or challenge of doing something physically demanding, mentally demanding, or emotionally demanding. And I'm planning probably a whole nother video around this soon, so kind of hang tight on that concept. But it's very important to break your challenge down to something that is achievable without forcing you to learn too much as you're doing it. Now, the last thing that maybe hit me the most interesting thing for me, was learning about Alex's relationship to fear. And this isn't necessarily something that I think will increase flow for the average person, but I think it helps you engage with life in a different way. It's been shown that people who reflect on their mortality enhance their sense of purpose and well-being. And doing what Alex does regularly is a constant interaction with the fear of death that I think is what makes him so capable of doing things like this and doing it in such a calm way. He's obviously very calculated and prepared and thoughtful and capable, but confronting death before you die is one of the most valuable things I think you could ever do. And I think Alex is one of the most inspiring people that does this all the time. And a lot of it has to do with how he makes things like this look so easy and makes things that feel impossible kind of practical. It's weird to say that, but in the meetings after, in the interviews after, he wasn't talking about how hard it was. He wasn't talking about how much it sucked. He was saying it's possible to do hard things and that everyone should try. And I think that is the core message that I took away. Everything and everyone has a different level of hard, but it's clear that hard is not optional. It's required in climbing a skyscraper, in overcoming an illness, in writing a book, in becoming a good parent, in life, in work, and everything in between. But that isn't to be afraid of. As we've seen with Alex, the broadcaster at the end of the live stream said something like, preparation, presence, and belief will carry you further than fear ever will. And that couldn't be more true. Preparing for your life, for the life you want to live, and for the things you aim to achieve, showing up presently, giving this thing you claim to be so meaningful your fullest attention, and believing in yourself because no one else will. No one will. You're the only one that will believe in you as much as you believe in you. And so that's a really important thing that sounds kind of Tony Robbins woo-woo, but it's very, very important. And I think, to summarize, I want to make sure this is like very, very practical and very useful. So just want to summarize where we came from here before I end it. Going back to the beginning, the importance of preparing, creating discipline, but also not forgetting to surrender, preparing and letting go. Being prepared is what helps you to face the first phase of the flow cycle, the struggle phase, but you must also let go of the struggle and trust yourself in order to release into flow. Notice the challenge and make it smaller. This is another kind of element that is important as you aim to increase flow or the skill of flow in your life. So it's like the idea of one bite of the elephant. Hard is hard and life is challenging and anything you do will take some effort. But when you break the challenges down into smaller, more manageable steps that are just outside of your skill set, but not too outside, you create a natural trigger for flow that gives you insane momentum. Next is to build feedback. Turn the thing you aim to achieve into a bit of a game by phasing it out and creating transition points for you to adjust course and keep moving. For Alex, it was the transition in the wall pattern. For you, it might be breaking your day down into like milestones or goals that can kind of keep you on track. The third thing is don't let your brain arrive before your body does. This was an awesome quote that I heard through the broadcast about something Alex said in his training that I think could be a mantra for everyone to live by, honestly. You need your brain and your body to arrive together. You can't get too swept up in what the end result is going to look like. You need to stay with each movement, each moment, each action, and each experience at hand. This is the art of presence. This is the art of awareness. This is the art of flow. And I think, like I said, is a useful reminder for every life experience, really. And then I think the last thing, again, it doesn't really have anything to do with flow necessarily to a high degree, but reflecting on death. I think this is such a beautiful way and a really important way for people to become more present in their life, which is really a basis of flow. Reflecting on your mortality will put you in touch with something deeper. It'll allow you to look at what you're aiming to achieve with a more optimistic lens, and it will put more meaning into your life and work, which is just endlessly important. All right, that's it for this video. I hope you got a little closer to an understanding that flow isn't an accident. It is what makes a lot of what we do in our lives possible. And everyone can enter flow each day. It just takes building the skills. And every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, I teach the skill of flow, rather, in what I call a deep work meditation. Hit the link in the description and check it out. It's a free 90-minute flow state session to help you enter and exit flow on command. And thank you, Alex, if you ever see this, for all the inspiration and pushing us to believe in the impossible. Very, very grateful to watch you do what you did. And if you like this video, give it a thumb so I know what you like, and I'll see you next time.